What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and this evening we're gonna have a quick little conversation about wisdom and how it's gonna help you as an artist, especially you younger artists in the music industry. So, if you are interested in conversations like this, make sure you are hitting the like button so you can improve the algorithm for other artists, and also hit the subscribe button so you can catch all my new content that comes out. So, what I mean by wisdom for artists is that you need to have the awareness and the experience to understand what is around you and what's going on in reality, right? So a lot of times, especially as younger artists, there's a bit of an expectation we have in the music industry, but it's usually set by, outside influences like our parents, maybe our culture and things like that. But I've had the, I guess you could say, lucky opportunity to be able to see the life of an artist from many, many different cultures and perspectives. And I think what I found consistently is that many young artists have a bit of, I guess you could say, entitlement to success. And I think that's an issue that comes along with, maybe going to school for music or getting graded on music and stuff like that. I think a lot of people, when they are introduced to music, it's through school or maybe like, performing for your family and you get a round of applause when you're young and things like that. There's a bit of validation there. But when we're being wise about what the music industry is and the nature of the beast that we call capitalism, we have to be very, very aware of that if we want to, thrive. And I think that's something I had to learn. But it's one thing that when I see artists thriving in the music industry or outside the music industry, even, I think there's a bit of a consistency that we can find in their awareness on what's going on. So that can look like many different things. So that can look like, as a young artist, you may be going to school, right? But you may be going to school for something that is not a, let's say, major in music, but you're a really talented musician, right? Some people would say, you should get a major in music. Maybe some people have suggested it. But in reality, it's very, very wise to go to, let's say, college for something in the lines of engineering or technology and stuff like that. And there are ways you can use the skills you learn to help your music now or help your music career. But the thing is you have to be aware of how that relationship works between the skills you're learning for, let's say, life or school, and how it relates to what you expect from the music industry. So this is where wisdom, in my opinion, comes into play. So you want to kind of attach yourself to maybe organizations or people or um, individuals that have a little bit more experience than you in very specifically what you'd like to do in the future or what you'd like to be doing currently. And I say that because you want to have a clear understanding of what they're going through and a clear understanding on what they expect as individuals from either the work they're putting in or from the industries that they work in. So in a sense, like an apprenticeship or an internship, mentorship, things like that. You can shadow somebody, whatever it is, right? And this can happen at any age and any experience, but the key thing to understand is that you're trying to absorb wisdom. And so the key thing to look for, I would say, if you're especially a young artist, is you want to find problem solving kind of skills and resources that could be different for many artists. So for one artist, they may break a drumstick and that could be like in the middle of a live show. How that drummer handles that is something you want to pay attention to. A singer who's like on stage and they're trying to get into pitch and things like that, you want to pay attention to how they handle that. But we can go deeper into examples of, let's say, if you're actually shadowing an artist or you're getting mentored by, let's say, an executive or a lawyer or something like that. Getting information on how music law works for, let's say, an artist that wants to join a record label can be very beneficial, but you may not come across that information, just happenstance in your biology major degree in college. So you have to be very intentional about where you're positioning yourself to gain value from people who have more wisdom than you. But then there's the other side of the conversation where you can have all of this wisdom in the world and it can kind of paralyze you and create fear within yourself, as far as like maybe you don't think there's any value in what you're trying to do. There's a lot of people who play traditional music and think that mainstream media is challenging that. That can be something that you would need to overcome as an artist. And then on the other side, you could be very, mainstream, and you're getting the opposite result that you want from trying the mainstream version of, putting out music. And you usually see that more so dictated by the fans. Like you'll see an artist put out a very, very technically popular song, like it has a lot of plays and sales and things like that. But then when you are having the conversation with fans, listeners, or looking at what people are posting online, they really, really dislike the song or they're sick of hearing it and things like that. So this is where you want to have in position somebody to kind of help you understand your position at that point. Then you can make a clear decision on what option is available. And what that means is you could either have the conversation with, let's say, your record label about what kind of music you want to put out for your fans, or you can have a conversation with your record label about how your fans are reacting to your music. But understanding those two things is going to help you gain a lot of wisdom about those options, which would benefit you more. Some fan bases, they might rely on, you as a personality or maybe your band and your chemistry working together more so than how well you guys play your instruments. There's things you need to be aware of as a unit for you to thrive, or actually thrive with whatever option you choose to take. So that's something I think younger artists, you'll figure it out over time, especially with consistency. Like if you're working with let's say a team of artists or a group or a band or something like that, if you guys can work through a good like 3 or 4 years, you'll figure out kind of like what works in the chemistry within your band and finances, litigation and laws and stuff like that. You'll figure all of that stuff out if you're intentional. But the thing about having a lack of wisdom is that you're not even aware of what you don't know. So like there are examples of musicians who play every day on the street. They have amazing talent. They take care of their instrument, they dress nice, they're very sociable. We all know their names and they're in our hometowns and they play well. But they don't have no, residence in Vegas. So there's a disconnect between maybe what we expect of them and what they demand of the music industry. Maybe it's not a disconnect at all. Perhaps they are getting exactly what they asked for, and we just expect too much of them. But I don't know. Let me know. Is this you as an artist? Are there things in the music industry that you think you're not wise of, that you think you should be privy of in the music industry, maybe as a younger artist or even an older artist? Let me know in the comments, and I will see y'all tomorrow night. Peace.